Thanks, Jake. Next up we have Juanita Leon. She's the founder and director of Silla Vacia, an independent online media focused media focused on politics and power in Colombia. And for those non-Spanish speakers like myself, I think it translates into probably the most poetic news brand in the world, which is the empty chair. So,
yes.
Juanita, thanks.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My English should be much better than it is because I've lived in the States for 5 years in my life, but it is not, so sorry about that. Well, La Silla Vacia is 5 years old, and I agree with you that 1 year in a startup is like 7 years in life. So it looks like a long time, but our anniversary was last Wednesday, so we are really happy about it to have survived 5 years. So this is a news media about power in Colombia. Basically, my thought was that being powerful in Colombia means that you can choose what is said about you, what is not said about you, and how it is said. So I thought, I think we really need to understand how power is exercised in Colombia. So that's what the whole media is about. We have 500,000 unique visitors a month, which compared to Taiwan is nothing, but in Colombia is quite a lot. We are mostly read by people that have a university education in Colombia, and we are read by people that are not so young, but around 35 to 45 years old. We publish 5 original content stories a day. We have a debate platform where a lot of the opinion leaders in Colombia participate. We have 15 blogs where some of them are collective blogs, so around 25 people blog. We aggregate all the political debate that is going on in Twitter. We aggregate news stories about politics. And we have a live section where we believe that the World Wide Web now is the World Live Web, that what is going on at that moment is very important to cover, so we do that. And we have gotten a lot into data journalism, so we have a lot of databases, and we are, that's expensive, that's difficult to do. We are a very small staff of only 4 journalists, but we are getting into data journalism. But our real offer, I think, is that we are a community of people interested in public affairs in Colombia. We see ourselves as a community and also as a journalism lab. We think that from the beginning with my partner, we thought we want to see ourselves as a lab for the new journalism, for experimentation, to really discover what this new journalism is about. There's always a question about sustainability. Last year, this was how our revenue sources looked, 23% advertising. Advertising in Colombia for a site like ours is very difficult because banks don't want to associate themselves with corruption stories, with bad news about politics, with the stories about corporations, they're very wary of that. So we have found that our niche are the universities. So we get a lot of advertising from universities. 52% of our revenues come from grants from the Open Society Foundation, the Ford Foundation, NET. We also give workshops and do some consulting to other independent media in the rest of the continent that they hire us, please tell us how to do this election coverage or how to do that debate platform. So we charge for that. We did a crowdfunding campaign. We started 3 years ago, and it's been quite successful. It's called Super Amigos, which means like super friends. And last year we got $40,000 in our campaign, which again in Colombia that's a lot of money because people are not used to to giving away money. So that's, especially if you're not like poor or like in misery. So that was really great. And we also do some events in the universities. Most specifically, we do debates, like very high-profile debates. And we have a partnership with one of the universities in Colombia, and we get some money from that. So our achievements so far, I think having 500,000 unique visitors, we feel quite proud about it. We are also the third most read online media by opinion leaders. They do a survey in Colombia every year where they ask 3,000 people, from university professors, politicians, business people, NGO leaders, like what is the online media that you read? And we are the third ones, and the two ones above us are the two largest print newspapers. So we really felt that with only 4 people and only 5 years, we are as influential with that group as brands that have 100 years. We have had several scoops along our lives and no lawsuits, which is great. I think we have become a lab for innovative journalism. We really have worked very hard in developing narratives that are non-linear narratives, visualization, graphics, databases, gamification of information. We are really into trying to experiment. Sometimes we fail really bad in what we try to do, but we're really trying all the time. Our commitment in the newsroom is that we have to develop a new narrative every month. Like try something that we've never done before. So that's been really fun and good, and we've also tried to innovate in our relationship to the audience. Not only doing, like, for example, this crowdfunding campaign, but also we answer every comment, every question that they do in the comment section, we answer it. We really hold a permanent conversation with them. And I agree with you, Jay, that it's not true that you don't have time for that. It's just that you have to incorporate that as part of your daily job. And for me, that's been very, I think that has been a great idea because you really have a different relationship with your audience. We have like 610 super amigos, which I think is great. I think one of the greatest achievements is that we have survived 5 years. When we started, we thought, okay, if we survive for 1 year, that's great. So 5 is a lot. I've had 2 babies in these 5 years, and La Silla has survived, which I think is a great accomplishment because in a way, that means that it has become more like an institution that doesn't depend totally on me, and I think I guess all the people that run startups know that that's a great achievement. And I still have a car. I always thought, okay, if I don't have how to pay salaries, I will sell my car. That's been, I think that it's important that you set some limits for you because easily you can go bankrupt. Okay, I sell my car, I give my house. So I said, okay, I'll go as far as selling my car. I still have a car, so that's a great achievement. The challenges, I think people always say, well, the biggest challenge is finding the money. For me, at first, the biggest challenge was convincing good journalists to come and work with me. I used to work for Semana magazine, that is the largest magazine in Colombia, that is quite a good magazine. But we were always complaining, how journalists, we complain all the time, right? So we were always complaining, this is not independent enough, and we were always complaining. So when I set up the magazine, I called one of my friends that was a great journalist, or is a great journalist, and I said, look, Marta, okay, I have the money, come and let's make this independent media that we have always dreamed of. You will be able to say anything you want to say. And she was like, no, well, I'm not going to give up on Semana. And I was like, you have been complaining the past 5 years. Come on. And she was like, no. So I discovered that, journalists are people that are usually very traditional, very scary people that don't want to take those risks. So that's been one of the biggest challenges. So I decided, okay, forget about these big shot journalists. I'm going to bring really, really smart people from the universities and from other disciplines. Okay, to stay innovative, to do new things all the time is not easy. To have La Silla and Alive is not also that easy. Our plans for the future is to become a social network platform around our content. So we are investing in that. And my other mantra now is to try to make money while I sleep. You know, because mostly all the money that we make is that I have to go and give a conference. I have to go and do some consulting. So now we're trying to develop ideas that we can scale and that can happen while we do other things. And fast, I think lessons to take away is how you see yourself as the media matters. If you see yourself as a community of people or as a business or as a lab, that defines a lot of things. I think that you have to follow artists and engineers. That those are the people that you really learn from. So it's not always a good idea to just hire communication people. Each user is important. The key is transparency. I have made especially a great mistake. I said that the biggest guerrilla leader was killed when he was not killed. But I think that we survived that horrible mistake because I was transparent about how I made the mistake. I went back, told people these were my, that's how I failed. So I think people really appreciate transparency. We aggregate the news, so we only produce original content. I think news can be a trap. Have a unique personality. I think that's very important. We built upon existing networks, all the bloggers. Okay. And I think that you have to dedicate entirely to it. It's not something that you can do part-time because then you will fail. Okay, thank you very much.